The captain has won the game for Nigeria. The man who's played the
little warning sends it to Victor Osimhen.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Nigerian Football Weekly podcast with me, your host, Oluoke, also known as Vibes Patron on Twitter. And today I've got a very special guest with me. If you don't mind doing the introduction yourself, we've got the lovely...
My name is Ayoti. I'm the founder of EaglesTracker, the home of Nigerian footballers. Thank you, Olu, for having me on. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast, my friend. And thanks for everything you do for the Nigerian football. Just to give a bit of background, IoT runs the website and fan channel EaglesTracker. They're doing a lot of excellent things for the Super Eagles. They pretty much track every Nigerian footballer you can think of on any part of the globe on a daily basis. So that work, I mean, all I could do is just doff my hat to you and just continue the excellent work, so to speak. So for today's episode of the podcast, I mean, I thought it would be amazing to get your thoughts on, I mean, the Premier League season has just ended and the football season in general. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on how some of our Super Eagles players have performed, give us the rundown on, you know, some revelations of the year, who you think is your player of the year, and then we'll just touch on some of the upcoming Super Eagles games to look forward to. So, anything to say before we get started?
Sounds good. Let's get into it.
Awesome. So just to start with, goalkeeper, we'll work our way down from, you know, defense all the way up top. We'll keep it very simple. We just want to discuss who we think has performed well. So in terms of goalkeepers for the year, I don't know about you, but I think Maduka Okoye for me has had the biggest leap in terms of the season he's had in his club career. And in terms of establishing himself as a first-choice goalkeeper for his club side in a very good league. So he's the one person that stood out to me. I don't know if there are any other goalkeepers or if you share a similar sentiment, but the floor is yours.
So I would say, first off, you have to give big props to Maduka. Definitely has a big shout for goalkeeper of the year. I'll reveal this now. I didn't think of it until we literally just started recording this. But like our EaglesTracker Awards, our nominees are coming out tomorrow anyways. And Maduka is definitely one of the nominees.
Just to let you guys know for the dates, if the nominees are coming out tomorrow, today is officially Monday, May 24th. So they will be released on Tuesday, May 25th on EaglesTracker NG. Follow. Yeah. Continue.
So yeah, Maduka is definitely one of the nominees. Most people think he's the favorite to win. He's most people's choice for goalkeeper of the season. But it's going to be interesting to see what the fans think. I would mention also props to Adebayo Adeleye. He plays for Hapoel Jerusalem in Liga Limit, which is the second division of Israel.
Okay.
Promoted to the first division with his club. I don't have the exact numbers, but I think he kept about 15 clean sheets in 30 games or thereabouts. So he really did really well. He kept the most clean sheets of all Nigerian goalkeepers this season, if I'm not mistaken. Even though, you would say his league is not as strong as some others, but you know, you can only judge people based on where they perform. And based on his current stage, I would say Adeleye had another very good season. And just to give props also to the female footballers, Chiamaka Nnadozie, the pride of Nigeria, the young Super Falcon, youngest goalkeeper ever to keep a clean sheet at the Women's World Cup. She also had her first good season with Paris FC. She joined them last year, but she was playing second fiddle then, you know, trying to work her way into the squad. And now first team goalkeeper, playing week in, week out, making wonderful saves, keeping clean sheets. Shout out to her as well.
There you have it. And that's exactly why we have IoT on the podcast, because I'll be honest, I knew about Nnadozie's performances with the national team, but I was not aware about how well she'd done in the club season. So thanks for that. Adeleye, I also agree. I wasn't that aware of him, but I love what you said about you can only judge people based on how they perform with what's in front of them. So yes, it's the second division and we'll keep an eye out for him. And like you said, he's going to the first division. So let's see how that pans out. Hopefully all the disruptions in Israel won't affect that, but we'll see about that. But it seems like there's a consensus here. Maduka Okoye is clearly the standout. I also think in terms of thinking about the Super Eagles, it's been a problem position for the national team, it's safe to say. So I think there's the added incentive of feeling like maybe we're finally getting some real top quality in that department. Is that something you share?
No, definitely. I mean, we're still a long way away from having the confidence that we had in the days of Vincent and Yama. But at the same time, our goalkeeper isn't trash. Like, you can confidently say that. Our goalkeeper isn't trash, and it feels nice to be able to say that with confidence. So, and I mean, Maduka is only 20, 21. And we know that usually goalkeepers, they pick at 30, 31. Yeah. So it's incredible to see, like, just to be able to, just predict and project the potential that this kid has, and the future that he has. Being capped already now, being number one threat for the national team already at this stage, I mean, the future is bright, man. Maduka, I hope, is going to go into one of the best goalkeepers in the world.
I can only agree. Good.
Just to further praise Maduka, he was nominated for, or he's currently nominated for goalkeeper of the season in the Dutch Eredivisie. So it's not just in a Nigerian perspective that he did well.
Absolutely.
Only 2 goalkeepers kept more clean sheets than he did. So I mean, the guy had a good year, man.
Thanks for raising that. That was actually the next thing I was going to say, because I noticed he had a very, very strong end to the season, and he even managed to get his team into the playoff spots for the Europa League, although they unfortunately lost in Feyenoord. But
they lost 2-0 against Feyenoord, and I mean, we know Feyenoord is one of the biggest clubs in Holland. And if you even look at Maduka's performance in that game that he lost, he made 6 saves in that game. Wow. He considered 2 goals. One was an own goal, and the second was a penalty. So, like, from the goalkeeper's point of view, he did as much as he could do, Yeah. So, very tough season for him, but very, like, so much growth. I've said it before. In the beginning, I did not agree with Maduka being introduced to us. They literally brought him out of nowhere and told us that he's the next best thing, is the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
but thankfully, he's starting to, to show us his quality. And
now we have someone to back up he's got the numbers to back up the proclamation with him. And I love what you mentioned about goalkeepers peaking, because like we said, we don't want to jinx anything, but when you have a player who's already number 1 at this age, the sky's the limit. So fingers crossed. Yeah. We wish Okoye all the best, and we'll be seeing him in a few days, pretty much. We'll get into that next. So moving on to defenders. I want to leave the floor open because I know I can ramble. Tell me which of the defenders have impressed you the most? If you could give us one, that's fine. 2, 3, just we could have a little chat.
So defenders, I guess we're giving Nigeria Football Weekly a sneak peek into the EaglesTracker awards as well. I'll gladly mention to them. So for defenders, my 2 standout defenders, interesting, the Oyinbo, William Troost-Ekong and Leon Balogun. Balogun was a champion in Scotland, solid performances all season. Troost-Ekong has been promoted to the Premier League with Watford, solid all season as well. I mean, I don't even know, do I need to keep saying more? I mean, you can, if you don't win the league, the next best thing is to be promoted. So, I mean, for those guys and for them to be mainstays in their team, Leon, as Leon tends to do, got injured once or twice this season, but he was still able to, to play a lot of games and to perform really well for them. And Ekong in particular, I watched more Ekong than Leon because championship.
Yeah.
And he was a solid player for them, I always just like when certain games, after he's amongst the nominees for Watford Man of the Match, things like that, you also see that the fans appreciate, the effort and what he puts in. Also got on the score sheet. I think he scored 1 goal this season, which is always nice for centre-backs. So, yeah.
I think it's important to call out, just to let you know, when we take defenders, we can also speak about fullbacks in this category as well.
And that was, literally, that was what I was
another thing. With your Ekong statement, just before we go on to that, Ekong is also important to call out the fact that, let's be honest, quite a few Nigerian fans were not quite sure about that move when he made it.
Yeah, they questioned the move.
You know, because I know the Pozzo family owned Udinese and Watford, but he was going from Syria, where he started all the games and was a regular player in an Udinese team who admittedly a mid-table, but, it's still Syria compared to the championship. And for him to go over to the championship and, So I think that element definitely adds to that feeling, especially now that he's a prem player, you know.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of negative feedback from Nigerian fans, I will say. I remember when we announced, well, we didn't announce it, but when we posted it on our page, I remember, you know, people were questioning it. People were questioning his desire. You know, that's something that I can imagine for footballers, it must be annoying when people are questioning your wants, you know, how much you want it. Because people were saying, oh, he's settling, you know, he just wants to go somewhere and make money, you know, things like that. Whereas, yeah, exactly. Whereas, you know, he knew what he was going there to fight for. And now that it's been achieved, I know everybody can clearly see how amazing it's been. You mentioned fullbacks, and I was about to get into fullbacks as well, you know. I would mention that we have to give props to Zedu Sanusi, played in the Champions League with FC Porto, had a fine season, you know, so you have to give props to him. Victor Moses, Super Eagles no more, but still a Nigerian player. Victor Moses had a fantastic year with Spartak Moscow, finished second in the Russian Premier League, qualified for the UEFA Champions League next season. They are about to activate his fee and pay the permanent transfer fee from Chelsea. You know, I mean, I read the quotes from the Spartak Moscow president saying like signing Moses for that chip is almost like stealing because of how good he's been. Yeah. He's like, they signed Quincy Promes for 10 million euro, you know, and they're about the same age, and Moses is coming for about 4 or 5 million, and he's doing just as good or even better than Quincy Promes, who was supposed to come and be their star player. So yeah, shout out to Victor Moses, still killing it at this age. He's not even as old as you would imagine just because of how early he retired from the national team.
That's one thing I respect about EaglesTracker and IoT is they give props to everybody. Even I have a bit of a bias where I try to focus on people who are still good to play in the national team, because obviously on a podcast you can't cover everyone. But I love the fact that you're still looking at what Victor Moses is doing. I only knew about his exploits because I was trying to see what HK was doing, and I saw how bummy CSK season has gone. So although I know HK kind of cloding back towards the end of the season, but you're right. And when you look at Nigeria's history, I think Victor Moses is one of those people where he's a victim of leaving the national team in the wrong terms, in my opinion. Because when you look at his credentials, he won AFCON. He's one of the players who was a star player with the Menike in our run to win AFCON. Yeah. He played in our best World Cup run that we've had since 1998 in 2014. And did well. Yeah. 2018, I mean, he scored the penalty that we were, 7 minutes away from going into the second round. Yeah. So I agree that one thing I think that's always gone against him is I actually didn't even realize he was born and raised in Nigeria until, you know, he was 9 and he had the incident with his family, because I thought he was one of them, or born and raised in England, or I want to play for England too much. Because obviously when a player decides to retire from the national team at 27, it makes Nigerian people look like, I mean, you see Sergio Ramos playing at 38. It's just like, I understand the sentiment, especially when you know about other things, maybe not the average fan or public person is privy to. But at the same time, we love Nigeria. So, you know, sometimes that tinge just goes there. But
you know, you still have to think why so early. But then, like you mentioned, there's so many things that happen behind the scenes. There's so many things that go into these decisions.
You could argue it goes both ways, Ayo, because that 4 million fee, I doubt Spartak would have been able to sign him for 4 million if he was still playing for the Nigeria team. You could argue maybe it wouldn't have been that cheap. But I love the fact you called out Sanusi. Actually, just to mention, I think a year ago, the same way one of my favorite things you said, our goalkeeper is no longer trash. I would apply the same sentiment to our left back position. And say, before Sanusi magically appeared, I don't know if I ever mentioned this on the podcast, but the first time I heard of him was maybe during the pandemic when he was playing for Santa Clara. He had this storming game against Benfica, and he scored a goal, and they beat Benfica 4-3. And when you think about where Sanusi has now come on, like you said, Champions League places, I think that's the one thing that makes me sad about our national team, because let's be honest, we're not playing as many Champions League players. But Sanusi, as you said, also made the second round, played well against Juventus, and not even second round, the quarterfinals, sorry. So they lost to IIT's against Chelsea. I know you won't mind me revealing that on the pod. I'm an Arsenal fan, so, you know, things are going extremely well for you. You've got a Champions League final. My team's not even in Europe anymore. So, you know, it could be worse. But yeah, Sanusi, I really, really think we need to give him special praise and props, because
what he's able to do. I would say Sanusi is another tricky one. I was thinking about it even for EaglesTracker awards as well. Do you consider Sanusi as a nominee for Revelation of the Year? You know, we heard about him towards the end of last season, but you know, he really made the step up this season and showed himself a lot more, you know. So do you consider him as a candidate for Revelation of the Year, or do you say that he actually, you know, broke out last season? So it's an interesting.
It depends on what you decided, but I think for me, I would say he could still fall under revelation simply because we have to think about the wider football consciousness. Apart from us who would go and pull out
pay attention,
telescopes to see who's up and coming, you know, who really knew about a Santa Clara left back. But that legitimacy of signing for Porto, and then the show of faith to replace Alex Telles, who was their free kick taker, penalty taker, all-round star man from left back. I mean, I think we could really, you know, Sanusi has been one of the best.
And just to wrap up on defenders, I want to shout out to more people.
Please do.
I'll mention Tyrone Ebuehi. Ebuehi had a good season with FC Twente as well.
It's
nice to see him have another full season, full fitness under his belt for the entire season.
After the knee injury?
Maybe just one knock I think he had at some point in the season, but he was fit throughout the season, so nice to see. And also give credit to Chidozie Awaziem, solid for Boavista the entire year, battling relegation for almost the entire season, but he managed to keep them up. So congratulations to him on that. And I think, you know, he had one of the defenders with another fantastic year.
Both excellent shouts. And thanks for mentioning that. Ebuehi was also on my list simply for that same reason, as you mentioned. I think we should also be intrigued by what happens with his summer. In case anyone doesn't know listening to this, he's a Benfica player, but he's on loan at FC Twente. He got his knee injury literally a few weeks after he signed for Benfica. So when you think about where Benfica's position, they finished third this season after spending almost £100 million to sign Waldschmidt, Vermaelen, Otamendi, Everton Suarez. In the back of my mind, I keep thinking maybe Tyrone might get a chance again. So watch this space, guys. I don't know if you've heard anything, but at the very least, he's definitely impressed in the Dutch Eredivisie, and you'd like to think that he could at least build on that. And I also noticed in a few games he played centre back, which is quite interesting. So I think he's much more versatile than we realize. And like you said, big props to anyone coming back from big long-term injury and can get themselves back to playing all the time gets our respect. So shout out to all of them. So moving on to midfielders, the floor is yours, IoT. Who's impressed you?
Midfielders, I mean, obviously you have to mention Wilfred Ndidi. I mean, you can't even talk about Nigerian football, not talk about Nigerian midfielders without talking about Wilfred Ndidi.
Absolutely.
Fantastic year for him again. You know, I think he improved in his individual performance. He stepped up from last year. Showed us a little bit more than just rugged tackling, intercepting Ndidi. You know, showed us more in his game, passing, you know, things like that. And he won the FA Cup. Yeah, and he won the FA Cup. I mean, you win a trophy after performing so well. I don't think he could have dreamt of anything better than this. First trophy rather in his professional career as well.
That's true.
So, you know, amazing one for him. Another top player, Joe Aribo, champion alongside Leon Balogun for Rangers in the Scottish Premiership. The only thing that I would knock him a little bit is that, okay, I think now you're too good for the Scottish Premiership. Go do it somewhere else. You know. But based off of this season, he had a fantastic year. Brought out as well in the Europa League for them. Scored one beautiful goal in the Europa League. I don't know if you remember that one. I think it was against Leverkusen or so. So yes. Michael Olise. Usually I wouldn't consider him, but after being on the standby list at that time, so I guess I have to consider him.
We're on the same page. Yeah, I agree with your reasoning. Yeah.
So Michael Olise had a very good season with Reading. You know, you have to give it to him. Double digits in assists, and I think he got about 8 goals or thereabouts. So he had a good year. Hopefully, we get to see him make his Super Eagles debut sometime soon. He's not in the squad for the Cameroon.
Do you know why? I was wondering that.
We don't really know why. They say technical issues with whatever, but we don't know why. You know, hopefully he can be a Super Eagle for real sometime soon. Frank Onyeka, another solid season with FC Midtjylland. He's another person that I think needs a move. Not just for anything, but to get more praise and to show that you can do it at a higher level. He's been the best player in Midtjylland for 2 years now. He's been one of the best players in the Danish league for about 3 years. Like, okay, yeah, we get it. Yeah, you're really good. Now we want to see him move into a tougher league and do a week in, week out. We saw them in the Champions League. They played against tougher opposition every week, but he had a few good games. But then he couldn't really, shine because his team was really struggling. So it would just be nice to see him make a step up. We're not saying go to the Prem. Even if it's France, even if it's Belgium, even, just make a step up, go to somewhere better and test yourself at a higher level. And then I'll mention one more player that I know that many people will not think of, but watching him closely, he had a fantastic year. Joel Obi.
Okay.
Joel Obi is someone that is familiar to Nigerian football fans.
Of course.
To the casual, they might not really know too much about him. But he's the captain of AC Verona in the Italian Serie B. Unfortunately, they lost in the playoff semi-final, promotion playoff semi-final.
Oh, no.
So they couldn't get promoted. But he captained them all season, and he was solid in midfield. He even dealt with an issue of racism from another player at one point in the season. Yeah. But thankfully, his club really got behind him. The league got behind him, and they supported him. But Joel Obi had a very solid.
I remember him.
And he's one of those players that
he's one of those people that you have to say there's God's favor, because I just remember him making a late burst into that 2018 World Cup squad from nowhere. And he got to go to the World Cup. I was like, Joel Obi, man, that's some nice timing.
Yeah.
So at the moment, they're not. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm like, definitely, he's someone that has fallen quite a bit under the radar, So I was hoping to see him playing in Serie A next season, because just by virtue of being in Serie A, people would just, oh wow, so Joel Obi is still, still doing these things. But unfortunately, he might have to scrap it out again.
And you could argue with central midfield options, it might be a position where we are slightly light compared to others. So maybe he could be able. I mean, Ndidi and Aribo are first choice, and you've spoken about them eloquently. Thanks. Those were literally the two I had on my list as well, because I think they've also a lot of this confidence. You see us wear these jerseys now, because when you look at Ndidi and Aribo, honestly, the confidence is different, So I agree everything you said. When the Rangers fans, even on the Nigeria Football Weekly Twitter handle, the Rangers fans, whenever they talk about Aribo and Ndidi, are just like, Aribo for them. And then obviously Ndidi means myself living in England. One thing I could always say is, without a doubt, Ndidi is our most respected player in the national team. When you hear the way Sky Sports, Gary Neville, if you hear the way Gary Lineker, Gary Lineker is a Leicester fan as well. If you hear these guys talk about Ndidi, you could tell it's not just mouth or, they like Ndidi because he's Nigerian. It's like, this guy's been doing it for 4.5 years now in the Prem for Leicester City, and it's just solid. And I love the fact you mentioned that his game has improved. You could see that change. He's a lot more expressive in his passes. He's basically he's no longer an Elneny. Elneny, if you watch Arsenal, from my fellow Arsenal fans, you know what I'm talking about. The sideways master, They never want to pass the ball forward. They never want to break the lines. They never want to try any risky pass because maybe they'll get berated. So we'll see on that one. With Michael Olise, intriguing to see what you said there. We know with these issues, you never know, but I just hope we snap him up as soon as possible, because from what I've heard, he's got an Algerian mother, and
that's what, Algerian fans have started to make a lot of noise.
And the Algerians, they remind me of the Turks. They're very passionate about their country as well. But to be fair to you guys, you could tell he's a baller, because even, I don't know if I ever said I've mentioned on the podcast before, but one of my best friends from university is a Reading fan. And this guy chews my ear about Olise. He's literally like, he used to first talk about Ajaria all the time. But even the way he talks about Olise, you could tell there's levels. It's like, Ejara's all right, but this Olise kid. And look out for the summer, because I don't think he's going to stay in the championship, because he's not going to. I heard Aston Villa looking at him. But if we could cap him, I'm a bit worried, because I thought this friendly would have been the perfect time, especially if he did not, decommit or something like that. So let's see what happens. And I love the fact you mentioned Frank Onyeka, because for anyone listening to this right now, although Onyeka has been amazing, one storyline I've been following is his club bottling the league. So Midtjylland was supposed to win the league, And they've just the last week, they've just gone to shreds. They lost their last 2 games, and I could just confirm. I was googling why you're talking about Onyeka. They've lost.
They won today, but they lost the title.
So they lost today because Brøndby won as well. I was just checking why you mentioned Onyeka, so thanks for the reminder. But I totally agree. He's one of the first people when I did one of my early episodes of the podcast, I mentioned the effects of the GBE endorsement. So the fact that he played in the Champions League this season, he won the league last season, he has enough coefficient points to even play in the Premier League or get close enough to the Prem, simply because he played in the Champions League. If he does not take advantage of that this summer, then it will be a different case next year because they've now finished second and they're not going to be in the Champions League. So, and also one thing to mention, just in case there's anybody listening to this who plays Football Manager. Football Manager thinks Frank Onyeka is going to become the shit.
And
the guy.
And if we know anything about Football Manager, they know that they
know what they're doing. I you know me, Omar. I literally started a new FM save. I did Nigeria. We won the World Cup. Yes, I used information, but I'm not even lying, guys. Onyeka is predicted to literally go to the moon. So if FM scouts see that in him, guys, let's really watch out. But I think he has a big summer ahead. So let's see what happens there.
Yeah.
So
and since we're talking about summers, before we move on, since we're talking about summers, let me just
please do.
Much, would you like to see Wilfred Ndidi on the move? Considering Leicester failed to qualify for the Champions League, so it's Europa League for them next season. If he gets interest from a top club, I don't know, Arsenal, Chelsea, PSG, Barca, would you like to see?
I appreciate you still mentioning Arsenal for my pride. I thanks for that. to be fair to you, we are a big club by numbers and fan base. And even though all our ops like to remind us that we've finished 8th for 2 years now, it sounds weird. To be honest with you, let me be honest. I was very disappointed yesterday when Leicester did not make the Champions League. Yes, it's all well and good hearing Gary Lineker say on Match of the Day, we won the FA Cup, we won a trophy, and we finished 5th, and we may win the Europa League. But we want our Nigerian players, our best Nigerian players playing in the Champions League. If I'm not mistaken, Didi played in the Champions League in his first season when he moved from January to July because he played against Sevilla. Yeah, so I remember he played against Sevilla. And if I'm not mistaken, when he was at Genk, I think he had 1 season in the Champions League. I'm not sure. But we want Ndidi and Kelechi in the Champions League. To be honest, that's really what I think. But at the same time, you could argue that when you see him in Tillemans and Fofana, that's a team that's pretty ready to take the next leap. And now that Kelechi has finally found his feet, I don't know if Ndidi bolting off immediately would necessarily, obviously everyone has to own their own career. But I will mention, I heard from Fabrizio that Leicester are about to sign Boubacar Soumaré from Lille. Now, if you sign Boubacar Soumaré, I'm not saying he's Ndidi light, but he does what Ndidi does. When you look at his profile of a player, he's a defensive mid as well, compared to Tillemans, who's the more box-to-box attacking player. So I don't know if that's Leicester preparing, because we know they're probably the best club in England at selling and buying the right replacements. So I don't know if that's them also getting ready to say, you know what, Wilfred, you've given us your service. And I know he's being looked at by the big clubs. I know Carl Anker of The Athletic did a piece about Manchester United number 6s to look at. And I'm not going to lie to you, Ndidi was number 1 in the list. When I was reading the article, I was so proud. I was like, oh my God, Ndidi, like, this Igbo man is making us so proud. So my gut says yes, but I'm not going to sit down and lie to you that I would be too pissed off if he stayed at Leicester, because I think his reputation is traveling for him in the way it's expected. And we have a World Cup and an AFCON next year. So I don't think he would miss out too much as long as we qualify for the World Cup and do what we need to do.
Okay, good one. I honestly, I can't even say I know what I want him to do. It's just, I think what is just sad is the fact that, like you mentioned, Nigerian players not qualifying for the Champions League next season. Ndidi and Kem and Iheanacho missed out, or Simba missed out. Chukwueze, we need Chukwueze to win the Europa League to play the Champions League next season. And they play it's just rather annoying that we wouldn't have our best players, But
if I was a betting man, I would I'm not going to lie. I think the Manchester United number, I don't know if they have a number 4 right now. I know Pogba's 6, but I think Ndidi's tailor-made from Old Trafford, if I'm being honest.
I mean, it would be amazing. I mean, would they replace a McTominay or would they replace a Fred or whoever they play in that position? Matic is old, so yeah, Matic can phase out, over a period of time. But it's just going to be interesting to see wherever Ndidi is next season. We know he's going to continue to do what he does,
and he's finally got at a level where he's respected by everyone.
Yeah, I would say like the only I don't know. You just predict life that accurately, yeah. But you don't want Ndidi's career to just keep tailor out at Leicester City and he never gets to play for a top club, because Leicester have the potential to always be thereabouts but never quite get there. They look like a team that they can always be in the top 4 race, every season. But if you really ask me to put my money down, every season I would bet against Leicester making the top 4, at the start of the season. So it's just interesting that there's a chance that he can just be there with them every year, nearly.
I think that is a phenomenal point. So you're right. Maybe that's why you read the time when they say sometimes you don't want to miss the boat, your chance. There might be some new DM on the way. You never know who's coming. And when you think about the fact that they lost out on top 4 for the second year in a row on the last day of the season, that's potentially 2 seasons of Champions League football that and Ndidi will never get back if he doesn't move in the summer. So let's see. Like you said, there's a lot of intriguing lines. I know we'll get to the forwards, and that'll be an intriguing one as well. Yeah. Sorry for the delay and time and all that, but we love our players. So forwards, come on, hit me. The exciting part of our national team, of course.
So
let's limit it to 3 or 4.
The goal scorers. I mean, everyone loves the goal scorers. So you said 3 or 4. How do I pick 3 or 4? Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, but the name that you have to start with is Paul Onuachu. I mean, most people's pick for player of the season. Had a fantastic season with Genk. I mean, I've lost count of the number of goals he scored now. We know it's 30-something, 37, 30, I don't know. He scored almost every game. That's what we know. And it's his best ever season, of course. As far as I can remember, best goal scoring season I've seen for any Nigerian player.
Absolutely.
We hope that he can get a big move in the summer. He needs to move. I do not want to see him playing in Belgium next season. No, he needs to move. So Paul Onuachu, you have to mention as one of the forwards.
Can I be a devil's
I would also mention. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I did see a tweet that Genk. Oh, just clarify. He scored 33 league goals, 8 penalties, but 33 goals, and that's just league. So I think overall it was 41 of which 2. But Genk are now in the Champions League, if I'm not mistaken, because they finished second, right? So how about one more Champions
League? They have to
League?
play the first qualifying round.
Oh, they're the qualifiers because they're second. It's Club Brugge who might
be qualifying round, yeah.
Okay. If the same way you asked me, if Genk made it and they were going to play Champions League, would your opinion differ slightly, or do you think strike while the iron's hot? Take your opportunity.
No, my opinion would be the same. I don't care how many, even if Genk plays every season in the Champions League, I would still want him to move. It's nice to be in Champions League, but it's no fun going and being the slapping this thing of every team. I mean, Genk loses probably 4 out of 6 group stage games and then
they get Europa League as an achievement.
It's an achievement, exactly. So while it's nice to see him there, but why go there and just struggle? If you can go play for, earlier there were rumors of Lyon, if you can go play for like Lyon, that would imagine how.
I saw one on Lazio. I don't know if you saw that one. Lazio?
Yeah, Lazio as well. But Lazio seems to be looking more towards another one Nigerian Simeon, who they know and who has been.
EaglesTracker. I'm sure we're coming on to him anyway.
Already. Yeah, he was the next one I was going to mention. But yeah, Onuachu, regardless of where Genk finished, I would want him to move just to progress his career. He's 27.
Next stage.
If you don't go play at the top league now, then you're never going to start the top league.
You're right, bro.
Unless obviously
he literally turns 27 on Friday. He turns 27 on Saturday. So you're right. It's now or never. And I agree. To be honest with you, I wasn't trying to. I just wanted to play devil's advocate for the content, but I agree with your point, 100%. I think he needs to go now. Strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
Get that move to a top 5 league and just keep doing what you're doing. So let's move on. Is the next person who I think it is? Who we just...
So yeah, next is Simi Wanko. I mean, give him his props. To play for the... No, they were not the worst, funny enough. They finished 19th.
Did they? Are you serious?
If I'm not mistaken, I think they eventually climbed because they won their last game, and I think they won the game before that. So I think they eventually finished 19th. You can confirm that. But to play for the worst or the second worst team in Italian Serie A and to still score 20 goals is an amazing thing. He fought his fight well. Unfortunately,
we have
his team
to also
couldn't make it.
mention he's the first Nigerian player to score 20 league goals in a top 5 league ever of any Nigerian player.
And is now the highest scoring Nigerian ever in Serie A history. So think about the Oba goals. Simi has now scored more Serie A goals in total than Obafemi Martins, and the Obina and so forth.
What makes the achievement resonate more for me? I always just think of it like he scored 20 goals for the Sheffield United of their league. That is amazing. Can you imagine someone, McGoldrick, scoring 20 goals? No chance.
Hey, you can imagine.
0.
Exactly. So it's really incredible, and I expect him to get a move for sure.
Yeah, me too.
I trust that he'll get a move. There's a lot of interest, especially from teams in Italy, so he'll most likely stay there. And he was our player of the season last season. Interestingly enough, EaglesTracker Awards.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was an interesting decision because a lot of people were expecting it to be Victor Osimhen, and then when we said Simi, it was one of the twists that we had last season. So yeah, watch out to see if he can win it again this year.
Keep locked into the socials. Just so you want to see who won the Player of the Year. All will be revealed very soon on EaglesTracker NG. Yeah, go ahead.
Of the season. If we are not sticking to just the men, then she deserves to be among. She didn't score with the same frequency and aggressiveness as she usually does, but she still scored, I think, 19 goals in all competitions this season.
I think it broke out a bit. Just to clarify for the listeners, this is Azizat, right?
Yes, Azizat Oshoala.
Awesome.
Yes,
so, indeed.
She still had a decent season. She was unfortunately plagued with injuries. She tore her hamstring once. She broke her foot at some
decent,
point.
Bro. You're being nice. She won the Women's Champions League.
I was getting there, and she won the Women's Champions League. Like, I mean, that tops it off. Like, that's what you about in football. Win the Champions League. She's the first African woman ever win the Champions League. Yeah, so she's definitely in with
and
a big
first
shout
Nigerian as well. Obviously, we have to shout out Nigeria people first. Come on.
Yeah. So shout out to Azizat Oshoala. If I don't pay much attention to other African women like I do the Nigerians. So maybe there's maybe Katangla is still having a fantastic year, or maybe somebody else. But if I had to guess, let's hope that she can win her 5th African Footballer of the Year award at the end of this year.
We riot.
And just to mention, I'll mention some more forwards just to throw in some more names. Senior man Kelechi Iheanacho had a fantastic last 5 months of the season. Sadiq Umar, fantastic season in the 2nd division in Spain. They are in the playoffs. So let's see if they can get promoted. Shout out as well. Terry Murphy. You have to give credit to Murphy as well. Not quite the Sheffield United of the French League One, but maybe what I say Fulham still not relegated. So I would say the Brighton team. Maybe the Brighton. And he still scored, I think, 14 goals or 13 goals in League One this season.
Because I kept tracking.
Interestingly, 14 goals. 14 goals. Interestingly, more goals than Victor Osimhen scored last season that got him his 80 million move to Napoli.
Yeah.
So just think that for a team that performed much, I think Leo finished 6th when Victor Osimhen was there, and Lorient finished, I think, 16th.
Yeah.
So the disparity is so much.
We said Kelechi had the last 5 months. I was looking at Murphy's numbers. He only started scoring in December. So this is literally like he started getting his opportunities in December, and it's literally been one hell of a year. So you're right.
So
Do you
shout
think
out to yeah,
if I was to,
I'm just going to say,
do you
go
think
ahead.
Mofi would move?
Do I think he would move? I think he can, but I don't know if he would. I cannot predict. His team, they know how to move players. So I think if he wants to move, they can get him a move somewhere.
And
it just depends on. Go ahead.
I've thought of a scenario in my head. I want to see what you think about this. The same way we know everyone in France needs to sell. Lille have just won the league. Marseille, Lyon are about to lose Depay. Lille may probably lose David or Burak. How about we see Mofi go to one of those teams that can challenge for the Champions League places? That's what.
And that's definitely the potential, and that's what I think would work better for him. If he can get higher up in the table, just move higher up. Go join one of the European competitors in the league. Yeah, it will be better for him because the thing is, I don't know how many teams will take the chance on him right now. One thing that helped Osimhen get that move was the fact that Napoli was also overachieving. Lorient exactly overachieved. They were pretty much where people would have expected them to be. So it's a thing of the hype isn't as much as it was before. And obviously, COVID, people don't have as much money. So if he can maybe move to a bigger club, higher up the table, 4 more goals next season, and then we can now talk about a move to maybe England or Spain or something from there. But Murphy definitely
he looks
to watch.
And he looks good. Like he always passes the eye test every time I watched him. Like
I drew comparisons to Victor Osimhen a while ago in terms of their career paths and their style of play. They are very similar players. If you see the goals that they score, give him space, give him time, and he can finish. That's one thing he can finish. Left foot, right foot, this boy can finish. Go watch his goals. For anyone listening, if you have, go watch his goals. So yeah, it's definitely one to watch, and is another nominee for revelation of the season.
Awesome. So that's just so you know that would have. This is about IoT's views, but just so everybody knows, Terry Murphy is my revelation of the season. I'm not even going to try and pretend to you guys like I knew who he was last year. I never heard of him. One day I heard Terry Murphy. They said he was Nigerian. I checked him out. He was on a 4-game goal scoring run. And honestly, I've been in love ever since because I just watch him. I go and watch the goals or I watch it on BT Sport and he's just impressive. And I love the fact that he has big game energy. He scored twice against Marseille.
Against Monaco. He scored against
Monaco.
Oh, man.
He's always taking his opportunities when the big boys are around. So he's my one. And, we love our goal scorers. So shout out both of you, man. Yeah, big time.
Shout out. And he's definitely a good choice. Like, I'll be honest with you, I haven't made my decision yet. Even for the EaglesTracker Awards, we haven't made a decision yet for who's going to be our version of the season. But it's going to be a nice one to see. If I'm not mistaken, I think our version of the season last year. Well, I should remember this. I'll remember who it was before the end of the. Remember the season last year was Tolu Arokodare. I can't quite remember who our version of the season was, but it's definitely going to be an interesting player to continue to follow, man. Terry Murphy, the sky's the limit for guy, man.
I agree. And he signed, like what Ayo said, I think one of the most telling things for me with Murphy is he signed to pretty much like the best in the game when it comes to management. Like these guys know what they're doing with their players. They're the same guys who manage Sancho, Saka, Aino. Like they do not play when it comes to their clients. Even them securing Murphy a move to France just before Brexit happened, I'm telling you, it was not a coincidence. I'm sure they thought these things out. So now all of a sudden, Murphy is eligible to move to any club in any of the top 5 leagues, no matter what. He'll get a permit. Sorted. So these things matter, guys. So watch out.
And on that, our revelation of the season last season was Victor Osimhen. Yes, Victor
Osimhen.
You know
what? I was thinking in my mind, I was like, was it Osimhen? Because surely that little year would have. I remember him scoring on his debut as well, because it was on BT as well. And that's part of why, well, just confirm, Leo have won Liga. So I kind of have a soft spot for them because they breaded our Nige guys. And they were the one team that gave Inyama a chance when nobody used to give Nigerian goalkeepers a chance. He was their number 1 for years. So we like Lil over here. Maybe Murphy could go and do some more work over there if they sell all their star boys. And you know me as an Arsenal fan, we also took Pepe from them. So I just love Lil. I'm sorry. I love Lil.
Pepe, I mean,
we took some other bums.
We
took Javinho, who was a bum, but Gabriel, centre back. I like Gabriel, so I like Lil a lot. So let's see if anyone from Lil's watching this, Terry Murphy, come on, do the right thing, sign him up. So yeah, really appreciate that. Thanks for all your views on that. It's just nice to just see how well our players have done. There was even a stat that came out that I think they were only looking at 5 or 6 strikers who had scored over 100 league goals this season. So this season, as you've seen in some of our podcast episodes, I've just termed it the season of the super strikers. If anybody remembers Sheikh Zokoro, when we used to buy those magazines in Mixed the Bigs, every time I was just on the podcast. Exactly. So pretty much it's been the year of the super strikers. And I mean, it's just been amazing to witness. So long may it continue. In terms of, we'll just finally move on. Revelation has been spoken about. Has there been any player who you really thought this year would excel, but it just hasn't worked out for them? Or their season has not panned out as you expected and it's left a bit of a bitter taste, or it's just been a bit disappointing for you?
So I would mention one that a lot of people might disagree with, but it's one that I said at the start of the season that I felt this year could be. I said at the start that it could be make or break.
Okay.
And it didn't make him. It didn't break him, so maybe I was wrong, but it definitely did not make him. And that player is Samu Chukwueze.
Okay.
Chukwueze should have exploded by now. I'm one of the guys that I always tell fans to be patient with players. Everyone's path is different. That is not to say that he's not going to explode next season, or anything like that. But Chukwueze by now, we expected him to have come into his own. We expected him to have become a star player. Yeah. I'm not going to be as good as Mahrez or be, the best in the world, but I'm expecting him to, be a name that is constantly.
You want him to those kind of players that the streets kind of respect them, but you're starting to back it up with at least a good amount of goal contributions, maybe 10 to 15 a season, 7 goals, 8 a season.
The thing about some. His talent is undisputed.
Exactly.
So that's why you still watch the game, like you watch the game against Barcelona. Oh man, he killed those guys. You watch the game against Arsenal in the Europa League rather. He did well, so he can put in a good performance. But then I don't want to see a few good performances and then end of the season I look at your stats and I see 3 goals and 2 assists and I'm like, what happened? Exactly.
I totally understand your sentiments. And because just to add to your opinion, bro, we have to remember we're judging Chukwueze based on what we expected him to become. He's expected to be one of the pillars of the national team. You're Ndidi, you're Kelechi, you're Sime, you're Aribo. You could argue that almost anyone else in that starting lineup has excelled this season. Ekong, Balogun, Sanusi, even Aino and Ebuehi have been pretty good. So when you think about how Chukwueze was expected to explode, I agree with you because it's something that happened to me as well. I always used to look at his goal contribution and I was like, oh, wow, he hasn't scored in 3 months. We will admit that obviously he had a good end to the season before his injury. So he scored a few more goals in April. But the fact that he was never able to convince Unai Emery to start him consistently, I think is a bit of a damning situation. Yes, he had surgery, so maybe that played a part. But I agree that when we mention Chukwueze, it's more about how he performed it in terms of his expectations versus what we've seen. Because it's all well and good in dribbling all the time, but we don't want another Adama Traore on our hands. That you're just known for your dribbling, but your end product is always lacking. You look at Dama all the time, you look at his stats, he ends up with 2 goals, 3 assists a season. It's ridiculous. So I totally agree on that point, and that would make sense. Go ahead.
I'll also mention Alex Iwobi.
Yes.
Iwobi is another player that has not lived up to any real kind of expectation.
Can I be honest before you continue? I think he's one of those players who's being saved by his international career. But continue, please. I just wanted to say that.
probably, you can probably say that he only had like 4 good weeks. I remember when he played right wing back for a period of time, and he looked as if maybe we found, maybe we found right. Maybe this is actually where he's going to fit into Carlo Ancelotti's plans. But then at some point, I think maybe he asked or whatever, he moved back to his natural position, started to underperform again. Iwobi just wasn't, like, let's be honest, and the Everton fans have not been kind to him at all throughout this season. They've been absolutely battering him. So I hope he can pick it up next season, because I would say he definitely took a decline. Regardless of the standards that I need to analyze.
Yeah, I have to add to your sentiment, and as an Arsenal fan, like, I would be if I'm not lying to you, a Nigerian Arsenal fan, was a tough job trying to defend Iwobi, because I used to always tell them, trust me, you need to see him for the national team, blah, blah, blah. But for Arsenal, it just never happened. And I really, really think his career at club level is at a crossroads. I feel like because of his loyalty to Nigeria, he will be in that scenario where he'll always get called up no matter what, because that seems to be the Nigerian national team way, because I don't know what Musa is still doing right now. But if we're being brutally honest, bro, he's one of those players I can't really see where he fits in terms of another Premier League team. I can't really see who's going to take a punt on him. And it feels like he's being left behind because of his lack of goal contributions too. Because when I think about people talking about Joe Willock or certain younger players, Iwobi just seems to be totally off the radar. And it's more like he's relying on his Nigerian international vibe. I know he just signed a new deal with Puma and they can make cool stuff for him, but there's only so much your Nigerian international reach is going to do for you, because the NFF don't necessarily promote it as well in Europe anyway. So I'm really concerned, I'm not going to lie to you, and I agree with you massively. I don't know what's going to happen, but I even read somewhere that I think Ancelotti is ready for them to, cut their losses. I don't know how true that is, but it's really tough.
Which is never a nice thing to hear. Yeah.
I'll just have
the last person I said the last person I'll just mention, which is one I got from you, is Emmanuel Dennis.
Yes, please.
I really think about his season before, but just thinking about it now, Dennis was a player that was linked to a few Premier League clubs in the past, the Newcastles and a couple of them, but work permits, did not allow him to make a move. And then you're expecting for him to, make a step up. He scored against Real Madrid in the Champions League 2 seasons ago. If we all remember that,
yes,
he
absolutely.
made, those celebration. Yeah. There's a lot of noise around it. So Dennis was supposed to be on the up, and was playing for the best team in Belgium. So he seemed to have the perfect platform. He seems to have a perfect platform. Play for the best club, score the goals, and just keep going from there. But unfortunately, during the course of the season, as maybe some people might not have heard of, he had the famous boss incident before that Champions League game.
Do you mind just giving say them for people who might not have heard this story?
He's not sitting on the exact seat that he wanted to sit on, which unfortunately was out of service because of COVID restrictions, and then he stormed off the team bus and said he wasn't traveling for the game with them. And after that incident, he ended up playing like all of 30 minutes for, the next few months before he left. He went on loan to FC Cologne. He joined Ehiz Bue and Tolu Arokodare in Cologne in Germany. He got there on his debut. He started to go. He, I think, got another assist in 2 games after that or something like that.
Games for sure.
Yeah, he looked all right in the beginning. Yeah, and then unfortunately, Cologne just kept on struggling, and he just phased out. It was rather unfortunate for them. Right now, if I'm not mistaken, I think they are in the relegation playoffs.
Yes, you're right. No, actually.
Or they avoided relegation.
They avoided relegation and they will play in the playoffs because Arminia Bielefeld survived. But I'll check it as you're saying it. But I really, really agree because if you're about to win the league and you go from winning the league because of such a trivial situation like a seat, like it sounds so ridiculous. And you know what makes me even worse and what makes it even more sad? It's the one thing that got him all the press he wanted. Because I promise you, in England, they were talking about it. Every single station was talking about, oh, this player for Bruges did not play because he said he stormed off the team bus. And when you consider where his career was going, he's another one who Football Manager thought would go well. And you go and give up winning a Belgian title and potentially playing in the Champions League again, where you could at least showcase your skills Yeah, just to confirm, they're now in the relegation playoffs. And then you throw a tantrum just before the January window. They ship you off to Cologne. You can even say, all right, you're going to Bundesliga. If you could do all right, like Taiwo Awoniyi before he got injured, okay. And then you go there and start in a decent way. And I don't know if you've noticed, I'm sure you have anyway. Look at me. Of course you have. In the last 2 months, he's barely played. They're not even putting him on the bench. They're not even, it's like they've totally faced him out and just said, we'll count our losses, go back to Belgium, peace and love. We have a Rocco Dare. We'll worry about Rocco Dare and the Hazelboy and the people actually on our books.
Even Rocco Dare, I hate to say it,
he's been on the bench a lot.
They got their losses on him quite early as well.
Absolutely.
He also was a player that they signed on loan, and at some point they really stopped even putting him on the bench.
That's why I should ask, where did he come from loan? Sorry, I wasn't aware. Where did he come from loan?
No, like I said, he was a rookie of the season last season.
Yeah.
He did amazingly well in Latvia. I don't even remember the numbers, but it was basketball stats.
Ridiculous. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And they took a chance. He became the first player ever to leave the Latvian league and join the top 5 European club.
Oh, wow.
European league side.
That's amazing.
Direct from Latvia. Even the Latvian league, they reached out to us. They used him for so much of their press, like to promote their own. Like a player left our league and went to Germany. So it was an exciting opportunity for him. No doubt, there's no reason why he would have turned it down, even though it was a loan move because of COVID. They couldn't sign him permanently, things like that. But also, it seemed as if after some games they cut their level. Yeah, it just wasn't working out. Thankfully for him, he still got to play about 10 times this season. Played against Bayern Munich, which is always nice, for anybody. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with him because ideally he's going back to Latvia, but after the experience that he's had, I don't imagine that he wants to go back to play in
the Latvian league. Yeah,
he must be looking for a way back to mainstream Europe. So that's an interesting one to watch out for.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. And you see, those are the kind of things that even for me, that's news to me, and I'm so glad you're on here to give us that. So yeah, unfortunately, those guys were the dogs of the year, as we would say, but hopefully they could build on that, especially Chukwueze, and it will be because let's be honest.
Those are players that we want to be good.
Exactly. We need them to be. Exactly. We need
them to be.
So let's see what happens with them. Thanks so much for that, IoT. That's it in terms of our review of players and how they've done in their club seasons. We just want to get IoT's thoughts quickly on our upcoming friendlies because at the end of the day, we do this because of the Super Eagles. Even though sometimes they don't try and behave super when they're picking people that don't deserve to be picked. But that's a story for another day. But yeah, thanks for that. That's been amazing. One player to just talk about quick. I'll talk about him separately, but shout out Kelechi and Iheanacho as well. I think he's had an amazing year for me. And he's been, obviously, there's going to be loads of nominees on EaglesTracker, and you have to go and look for who's going to be the player of the year. But for me, I think Kelechi Iheanacho. And my reasoning for this is simple, bro. If you listen to episode 1, this is going to be episode 20, by the way. So thank you, IoT. Landmark episode. We're coming.
And shout out to you for hitting 20 episodes.
Thank you. But I promise you, in episode 1 or 2, I was so down on Kelechi because it just looked like he was out. Like, Brendan Rodgers was not even picking him when they needed to bring on a striker. He would rather... There was a game, he played Ayuso Perez and then brought on Javi Barnes to play up front. Like, it was just looking like Kelechi was a nobody over there. And I was like, oh my God, we're really going to have a scenario of another one's bitten the dust here. But honestly, the way he's turned it around in 2021, yes, you need a bit of favor and injuries help. Javi Barnes and Maddison got injured. Leicester kept flopping and they had to switch it around. We know they'll never, ever not play Vardy because he's the hero of their land and he won the Premier League. So that's another problem Kelechi was dealing with. It's like someone trying to play left wing in front of Ahmed Musa. I don't know what it goes with the national team, but it's a tough one. But for him to have come in, yes, he started with the FA Cup, but he's got 4 goals in 6 FA Cup games. He scored 19 goals in 38 games. So that's 1 in every 2 games. And mind you, a lot of those games where he didn't score, he was coming on for 10 minutes here and there. So he really much hit and started starting games from February and still ended up with 12 Premier League goals from 24 appearances. That's it. He only played 24 appearances. For me, these all just point to a senior man, as we all know him, and just a star boy. I think, honestly, with everything in the right form for Leicester next season, if Rodgers does no smear with, let me put Iheanacho on the bench like he did in the game they lost to Chelsea, I think Kelechi's target has to be 20 Premier League goals. Call me a cynic, but I think that's the level he's set. Since February, nobody has been spoken in glowing terms like Kelechi Iheanacho. In fact, me and my dad and my brother have a running joke of the English press butchering his name. They always say, Iheanacho. Just like pronounce his name. I know, I'm probably not saying it the proper Igbo way myself, so forgive me, guys. But I just think the way he's turned around his career and he's getting all the press, and he just deserves it. He was even the Premier League Player of the Month for March. That was a phenomenal achievement, considering where it was coming from. And everyone in Leicester loves him, even has his own song from the Leicester fans.
For Leicester.
Exactly. Scored the goal of the season, exactly, for Leicester. So for me, especially if you hear the way I was talking about Kelechi in the first 2 episodes, I hold my hands up, because in this space, we're honest about our feelings. And we don't say, we thought he was going to be amazing no matter what. Nah. Yes, initially we thought all those seasons ago, but I thought it was over. And for him to have resurrected his career, it's been amazing. So shout out to Kels.
And Kelechi is a good pick. For me, I just feel like personally,
it's not the whole season.
Yeah, it's not the whole season. And that's something that people like Polanwachu will use potentially to get ahead of him. If I had to pick by myself, I would pick Polanwachu, just simply because he's achieved what had never been. When you do something historical, you deserve credit for it.
I agree.
Broken the Genk goal scoring record, broken Nigerian goal scoring record, broken his goal scoring record. Done.
I read it's the best Belgian goal scoring season in 40 years or something.
Yeah, in so many years, exactly. So it's just so much that I have to give credit to him. If I wanted to give something to Kelechi Iheanacho, I would say he's my one to watch for next season. Can he continue like this, or is he about to go back into a bench role, quote unquote? So it's going to be interesting to see how Kelechi continues.
That is a great point, and thanks for answering one of my questions I was going to ask you in the end. Just to add as well, Kelechi's overall gameplay has improved as well. I don't know if that's something you've noticed. He's a playmaker. Yeah. Do you remember earlier when some people used to say, Kelechi is number 10? I'm going to hold my hands up and say I was one of the people that was like, what the hell are these people saying? But I'm not going to lie to you. I totally get it. He could create. He could pass. He's always dropping back, involved in all phases of play.
He plays like a senior man.
Yeah.
Like, that's the simple thing. He drops in. He gets the ball. He gets people involved. You can just see his confidence brimming and everything now. And he plays like a senior man. Forget the fact that his nickname. He actually plays like one. So it's really interesting to watch, and hopefully, Kelechi can just continue from him.
And I love your point on Onuachu, and I don't want to take anything. I just have to be honest. People can berate me for this. The Kelechi pick, there's probably small prem bias in there. I'm not gonna lie. And probably because of the way people were shitting on Kelechi, like people literally thought he was useless. Like if you see the way non-Nigerians used to speak about Kelechi, oh my God, it would have hurt your soul, guys. I'm telling you. So I just wanted to confess there's prem bias here. Really.
Yeah.
So just to end the podcast, I just want to get your thoughts very, very quickly. Firstly, Wednesday, Chukwueze against Manchester United. I want to get your prediction. Obviously, this is not set in stone. How do you see the game going? And what do you think the scoreline would be? And who do you think is going to win the trophy?
Do you want my biased opinion or my honest opinion?
You can do whatever you want, my friend. It's a free space. Well, you can give us if you want.
If I had to be honest, United would probably win the Europa League. Manchester United are by far I said this about 6-7 weeks ago, that United are going to win the Europa League, because you could just look at all the teams in the competition and see that they were the best team.
They shouldn't be there, really, right?
So it's going to be interesting to watch. Hopefully, Chukwueze is fit enough to participate.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But my heart wants Villarreal to win, of course. So I would say, if I had to bet, if I was putting my money, I would say 3-1 Manchester United. But what I want to happen, 2-1 Villarreal.
Yeah.
So let's just paint the scenario. Since Chukwueze is currently injured, let's say he's fit, but he's only fit enough to be on the bench for that game. He comes off the bench in the 75th minute in my Emery tactical masterclass, Swivels down the right, beats Luke Shaw, cutting on his right foot, and smacks it into the top left corner. A beautiful goal from Samu Chukwueze. He takes off his shirt, runs down the flank, gets the Villarreal win, celebrates, and everybody goes back.
That's it. There's no need to say anything else about that. Amen to that. And you guys, I'm an Arsenal fan, so you know I hate Man United. So yes, we're going with that. Chukwueze, God, please make it happen. Thanks for that. I could never have painted a picture as good as that about the prediction for that game. And then just finally, just to wrap up, Nigeria, where we've got a friendly match in 10 days on June the 4th.
Yeah.
In Vienna against Cameroon, our biggest West African rivals. Actually, let me even start with that. Who would you say are our biggest rivals? Because I think Cameroon, obviously we've got Cameroon and Ghana, but I'll say in our more recent history, Cameroon are our rivals, and they're right beside us by the border. But then obviously Ghana, we've got the English language, cultural link with them. Who would you say are our biggest rivals, Ghana or Cameroon?
Right now, it has to be Cameroon. Like, the thing with Ghana is that Ghana and Nigeria just have that, historic, that really transcends football, transcends anything. It's culture, it's dance, it's everything. Music is just, But Cameroon definitely have to be there. And even another rival that has been popping up, interestingly, recently, South Africa. I mean, are they our rivals? We always beat them, so are they our rivals? But it pains them when we win.
We could compare South Africa to they're like England, Scotland.
Yeah.
There's a cultural like, oh yes, we're big, but in reality, I mean, like, it's like sit out over there, mate. Sit
like
back down. And I also wanted to mention there's this intriguing narrative that I need to remind you of. I know you're slightly younger than me, but
sorry to cut you off. But that's what Sadi Kumar just scored for Almeria in the playoffs.
Is that number 20? Is that goal number 20? I think.
Yeah.
There we go, guys. So Omar Sadiq still doing his thing in the playoffs. Who are they playing? Please just give us the
Girona. UD Logrones, if I pronounce that correctly.
Okay. Oh yeah, look at me saying I did the preview of the podcast. Yeah, Logrones. They're the team that played Homero's Leganes last week, from what I remember.
Okay. So this is actually the final game of the season, not the playoffs.
Yeah, it's the final game, I think.
Final game of the season.
And then 4 of them.
But they are going to make the playoffs.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. So just a little background history. Cameroon. I watched the Super Eagles for the first time in the year 2000 when we hosted the AFCON in Lagos and Ghana. And obviously, Nigeria lost that final to Cameroon on penalties. So I hope you know, but next year we've got an AFCON, which we'll touch on. But I feel like with this rivalry, it's time for us to realize that this is bigger than just football. So even with the friendly, if I'm being honest, I'm not here for a draw or experimentals. I need the Super Eagles to win. So what are your thoughts on the game and who would you like to see play? Are there anybody who's got caught up that you want to see start the game or make an appearance? And just what are your thoughts on the game? How do you expect it to go?
Looking forward to it. It's going to be an interesting one. The timing is kind of weird, just with the way this whole year has been with the pandemic and everything, because our players are on holiday now. So are you just going to call them randomly out of their holiday to come back and play for the national team?
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. They are saying that the games are to prepare, this one and the next one in July, are to prepare for the upcoming.
I kind of get it. Just to mention one thing, we know that the international calendar windows are very, very few and far this year.
Yeah.
So that was obviously supposed to be a Cup qualifier. So I don't think they could have just let it go and not done anything, at least even if it's a fine tuning. So in their defense, we slander them. Me especially, I like to remind NFF of what they need to do. So let me give them props sometimes.
It's an interesting one. I mean, regardless, we would see how the match goes. It's probably an opportunity for General to tinker with the squad and try out a couple of players that, maybe he's not tried out before. I know some people have complained about a couple of selections. People have been complaining about Ahmed Musa. Why is Ahmed Musa still in the squad? People are complaining about Ezenwa. I don't watch Ezenwa, I wouldn't lie. But people that watch him say he hasn't been doing anything to deserve the call-up. I'm happy to see Tyron Ebuwe, he's still in the squad. Obviously, Ekong is in the squad. Interestingly, Balogun, probably because of his injury that he had towards the season.
I noticed that as well.
Another one to note, like I said earlier, Olise, standby to missing. We don't know why. Austria is right there, so you would have imagined that.
It's definitely not a restriction thing because we also know England restrictions are being lifted, so he could have flown if he needed to. Although, let me correct you, could it be a passport? You know, they said for a year that if you wanted to renew your Niger passport, they now have booklet paper. So,
I would feel like, personally, who am I happy to see in the squad? I'm happy to see Peter Larinka there. Peter Larinka is my guy.
Yes. Congrats. I was going to say, love to see it.
In Czech Republic again this season.
Yes, indeed.
Also, if I see him playing in Czech Republic in September, I'll text him and tell him, like, why are you still there?
I agree.
I need to see you move. I know his agent, so I'll
summer ahead.
I'll be in touch with his agent during this summer just to get.
Love that.
Nice to point out, his agent's a Nigerian guy as well, so that's just always a nice thing when Nigerian guys
amazing.
So yeah, nice to see. The biggest surprise for most people was Ibrahimovic, you know. Who is he?
As well.
that was the question that most people had, like, who? Like, who is I knew who Ibrahimovic was. I know who he is.
I'm not surprised.
I am confident that the only reason why I know him is because I run EaglesTracker. I'm not to be disrespectful to him. He's had a good season with CD Ferrens in the Segunda Liga in Portugal. You know, I think he scored 8 or 9 goals this season. But he didn't do anything fantastic. He didn't, like, does he deserve an under-23 call-up? Yeah, he does.
But no,
does he deserve a strong goals call-up? Hell no, not even close. One, he's a forward, he's not a midfielder. Why did he get chosen as a midfielder? And he's not even a forward that sometimes plays midfield. He is a forward. He's a striker.
Oh, really?
Not a forward.
Oh, wow.
Winger, he's a striker.
Oh, wow.
So why is he being called up as a midfielder for Nigeria? It's an interesting one. He's one of the most talented players in the second division in Portugal. My opinion and the league's opinion, because he gets a lot of praise in their league. You know, he's one of the better players there. But
is this
are there, if you wanted to call a forward as in a midfield slot, I can mention forwards that are more deserving of it. If you wanted to call a midfielder in that midfield slot, I can call.
He didn't even call up Onyeka now. Onyeka was not called up. I noticed. I was like,
oh, interesting. So this is interesting. We're talking about the squad, and the NFF just tweeted revised list for the Cameroon friendly.
Oh, wow. Yes,
has been removed from that list. I can see Valentine Ozonwafo has been added to the list. Frank Onyeka has been added to the list, as we're just mentioning. So yes, I have to examine it in more detail later. They've cut players from the list.
Yeah, so we'll I'm sure you do an update on your page, and we'll make sure we talk about this. I'll talk about this on the episode by the time I release this episode,
nice timing.
I know, right? This is how you know what we're doing is just divine timing, because I think we've literally just got the update from the Super Eagles right now, and literally as we said, Onyeka is on the list
because he deserves to be there.
Absolutely.
Maybe you know what's interesting? I wouldn't know, because the NFF can be seen like that. I would be surprised if maybe they just forgot about him.
You know what? You're right. Now, we'll talk about it in more details some other time. But like you said, they've taken Aribo. Just initial things I've noticed. Aribo's withdrawn from the squad. Maybe, I don't know with Aribo. Like, maybe he's injured, but I don't know. I know he played the last game of the season for Rangers and left back. But I'm the kind of petty Nigerian. I like to notice all these things, like when the Rangers people were celebrating, only Morelos and the Croatians were holding their flags. I'm like, Aribo, how far now? Where's your? I know you're from London, but am I not talking from London there with my Nigeria? You know, come on. But he looks like he's no longer in the squad. Indeed, he's still there. Etebo's in there. Shehu Onyeka, Ibrahimovic, who we're still discussing. We can confirm he's still in the list as a midfielder. As well. It looks like a lot of the fullbacks have pulled out. I don't see Zedu Sanusi on this list anymore. Ola I know will probably play left back, and Ebuewi play right back. Ozonwafo was an interesting one because we know he stopped. He only made a few appearances for Galatasaray, so this is probably maybe a bit of a left field. Actually, sorry, Jamilu Collins is in there. Sorry, he'll probably play.
No, but Jamelu Collins was there initially.
Yeah, he was there initially. I said I know play left back because I know I was versatile.
Yeah.
So to be honest, I still think Arno should play left back before Collins, considering it was in the second division last year. Musa, of course, they still put him in this list. Oh my God, don't get me started on Musa anyway. Siminoako still on the revised list. Osimhen still on the revised list. Mofi still on the revised list. Now, this is our problem with Nigeria. I don't want to lament because we need to end the podcast soon, but there needs to be an environment where logic has to take over doing things because of the optics. I'm looking at this forward list, and there are at least 5 strikers who play number 9. I know that's where we have the most players, but is this really necessary? I mean, you could argue no, because technically Iheanacho, you could say, could play as a winger, but I guess they had to give an opportunity to Siminoako and Mofi based on the season they've had. I'm really, really happy to see Olayinka here, to be honest with you, because I think he plays left wing. He's had a great season. He played in Europa League as well. And he just looks like someone whose career is going on the right path. And I know he's a left winger, so anybody who could take the Musa position is in my good books. I don't see Oyekuru on this list, so I'm not sure what's happening there. But Moses Simon is on there. But anyway, if we realize in there, I'm sure Grenoro left him there so that they don't blow his head off. Yeah, they don't blow his head off and say, you took one of the NPFL guys out again. But yeah.
I was going to mention, sorry, interestingly, Sadiq Umar is no longer in the squad.
I just noticed that.
His Super Eagles cap is still eluding him.
It makes sense, though, because as you just mentioned, they're going to play the playoffs. So I guess it's just the case of Almeria need to pay his wages for him to actually get them into La Liga. They're like, which dirty friendly match are you going to, man? Will you come back here? So, but that I feel sad for him, though, because this is the second time he's had to pull out over circumstances beyond his control.
Probably, I would say playoffs is probably the same reason why Umaru is no longer on this list.
Yes.
Playing the playoffs with Leganes in Spanish Segunda Division.
Absolutely.
I don't know about Akpoguma. I don't know.
To be fair to Akpoguma, I know why. He got injured again. He's had a terrible season. I was going to say, there's something about the Bundesliga and Nigerian players. I think we should just stay away. Look at everything we spoke about, the Cologne guys. Taiwo Awoniyi got injured after February, and he only came back to play the last 2 games of the season. Then Akpoguma literally got injured for the whole of 2021. He came back, scored a goal, which I knew because of EaglesTracker. I saw you posted. And then he got injured the next game. So I don't know what's in the water over there, but maybe we should just focus on Ligue 1. Ligue 1 seems to like Nigeria. And
I guess I have a question now. And this is with these updates that we've just seen. Do we not have center backs? Or is Valentine Ozonwafo, who has not played football this season, the next best option? Or what do you think might be the reasoning behind the selection?
Brother, with these things with the NFF, there's always an underlying reason that we don't know about. I
just confirmed the stats. Valentine Ozonwafo made 1 appearance this season.
Can you imagine? 1. Wow. Yeah. I also noticed there's definitely something at play that we're not being told. Because when you look at that list, yes, you could say you keep Awaziem and Ekong, but they've also pulled Shemi Ajayi from the list. As far as I know, Shemi Ajayi is not his season is over. There's no reason why he shouldn't be able to play this game. Unless the guys have yarried and said, look, you're not paying us a bonus. We don't want to come. But I don't see why you do that if it's to go to Vienna. Mind you guys, we're not speculating. I don't want to speculate for any player. We don't know what's happened there. We're just trying to think. Because Semi Ajayi, I would definitely have had him in there ahead of Valentine Ozonwafo. But we'll see what happens. One of my biggest frustrations with our national team is if you look at any other big top national side, even our South American partners, when they get a revised list, the manager then hosts a press conference and explains his reasons. And people interview and ask him questions and say, what's your reasoning behind this? Why did you pick this player? What's the thought process behind blah, 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 blah. But as you guys all know, with the NFF, it's always different.
To be fair, when you're not paying the man his wages.
General only does text message interviews. He speaks to the journalists that he's friendly with, and he knows, they want to have nice conversations with, which is the Nigeria way, but what can we need?
That these are my frustrations. If we still want to be perceived in a certain light that we think the national team deserves, we have to do things the right way. You could literally go to Turkey's social media handle, any European country, for the Euros, look at the videos they'll release, even their announcement videos, press conference, reasoning behind the selection. Oh, I didn't take this player because of this. I called him. England, they're doing their announcement tomorrow. Bro, you would think the world is about to stop. They're like, midday, England, oh my God, this election. Oh, it's Trent Alexander-Arnold in the team. Huh? But we just don't get any of these things, and it's so frustrating. So that's very, very shocking to me. I agree. It might be a case, maybe they just don't. He's the one young player we know. But logically, it does not make any decision. And this is what frustrates me. I feel like decisions like this.
And this is what frustrates other pros, because
they undermine us.
Working hard, that have been trying to get a shot. Let's not even, I don't even want to mention any well-known player. Even the guy that has played 30 games this season in Latvia deserves it more than this guy.
Absolutely. How can you play one game? And even the game, we only knew it because it was one Galatasaray game. I think someone else scored in that game. It was 4-2. I think another Nigerian guy scored, Jason Sekidika.
Or something.
It was Sekidika. Sekidika scored for them in that game and then went on loan as well. That's literally how I knew about him, because I would have no idea. It's just frustrating. So you're telling me there's a 22-man squad list and there's places for Zonwa, for Abraham Marcus and Ahmed Musa, who's played one game in 6 months. It's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. But anyway, we could lament for this for ages. But I just wanted to really thank you as well for taking the time. We'll talk about our July friendly at some other point. Just to know, we're playing Mexico. Only thing with that game is it might be preseason for a few of the players. So I don't know what's going to happen with the squad list. But the NFF, with the same breath, they jumped at the chance to make money and go to LA. But I hope they use the same energy to make money for the actual federation.
I was just going to say, I was considering flying to LA for that game. But I was speaking to someone earlier today, and they're talking about just like how now this list is confusing us. The person is like, the list for that game is probably going to be even more confusing than this one. So he's like, you probably don't want to spend that money going there to watch.
Till you see the team,
but I don't want to go watch you play.
Absolutely. And that's a very, very fair reason, bro. And that's literally one thing to just end with. You mentioned your one to watch, and if I could repeat it, Kelechi Iheanacho, if we're able to see if he could keep his momentum going into next season. To be honest with you, I will agree with that as well. I think out of everybody that intrigues me is Kelechi, but I'll go one further and add one of the players who we spoke about being a disappointment of the year, Chukwueze. I think it's still a big year. What I will also mention is the fact that he played against bummy Arsenal. I know I called my club bummy because that's what we've been. His reputation has really increased in England. I'm not going to lie to you. Because it was like, who is this Chukwueze guy? Like, he was giving the left back a tough time. Like, everywhere. I was like, yeah, more of that. They keep calling him Samu Chukwueze. So let's see what happens, because I agree with you. Those goal contributions are very, very big. And obviously, we have a lot of players who need to make moves. Simi, Olaika, Machu.
It's funny. I probably said this last summer. But this summer is going to be one of the most exciting ones for Nigerian footballers. We might not have any move as big as Victor Osimhen that we had last summer.
Yeah.
But it's going to still be interesting because we're going to have a number of moves. I mean, we must. Like we mentioned earlier, Olainka, Simi, Onuachu, those are some of the players.
Like Mofi, we'll see what happens with their career.
Even people like Ahmed Musa.
Yes. No, let's speak on it, because I really think Ahmed Musa is at a big crossroads in his career, because all of this stuff he's doing for the cameras, that every day they're announcing a new award for him and they want to give him the captain's armband and take pictures. Unfortunately, European scouts don't give a fuck. Excuse my language. They don't. So it's all well and good and everyone in Nigeria pandering, oh, look what he's doing for our league. But they look at the stats. He's played one game all year. It's not going to cut it. No one is going to remember the 2018 World Cup. During the 2018 World Cup, some of the stars we had today, when they had not even played football. Haaland. No one knew of Haaland in 2018. So Nigeria needs to get with the program. Like, we need to stop this resting on our laurels because Musa scored 2 goals in 2014 and 2 goals in 2018. Like, yes, we respect it. And also, they think if you call it out, you're being disrespectful. No, we love him for it. You should have seen the way we celebrated Musa's goal in 2018. But now it's a new day, and it's a meritocracy, and we need to do right by our players. So let's see with all these moves, because it's going to be a very interesting one. And then finally, I just wanted to ask you, in terms of the national team, after these friendlies, we've got the World Cup qualifiers starting in August, 31st of August against Liberia, and we've got Cape Verde on the 4th of September. In terms of the group, what are your thoughts? Do you expect that to be seamless? We know we're going to have to play the home and away rounds with all the group winners, and we're currently ranked 3rd in Africa, so it's looking okay. And then also the AFCON draw. Do you have any expectations or things you'd like to see? Anything you like us to draw? Considering we're one of the top seeds, we'll always get an easy group.
Honestly, I don't really have any opinions or projections on that. I'm taking it as it comes. For the World Cup qualifiers, you expect Nigeria to beat those teams that you mentioned. Our group, like you mentioned, Liberia, Cape Verde, and Central African Republic. On paper, we should top the group easily, but you just hope that the boys don't take anybody for granted. Hope that they can deliver results and not go pick up some unnecessary.
Because I was looking at Cape Verde's results, bro. Cape Verde are one of those bogey teams, They've got like 1 or 2 Gary Rodriguez. They always play well at home. If you disrespect them, you might be in trouble,
Yeah, they're the kind of team that would, if you're not too serious, you can easily just play 1-1.
I was thinking Ayo also, man. That's a good holiday location, If there's no COVID issues and the flights are not too bad,
Yeah, as far as that, I'm just, I don't like the next round of the World Qualifiers where we now have to go 1v1 against some other person.
Because we got lucky in 2014 when they gave us Ethiopia as well.
Other than that, just for Africa's sake, 1 or 2 of our top dogs always gets knocked out like that. And then we go into the World Cup with one guy that we know it's not really going to do much. Just for Africa's sake. And of course, with Nigeria, they should not mistakenly give us someone silly. That's going to give us. So yeah.
No, you're right, because countries like Ghana, Morocco, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, they're all not among the top 5 African nations right now. So that's, in fact, just add to your point, Ivory Coast and Cameroon are in the same group. How is that possible? In a 10,
one of them is not going, before anything even begins.
Yeah.
So those kind of things that
it's like them announcing Nigeria and Ghana to play in the women's. That was ridiculous. I don't know if you saw that. I'm sure you did. Nigeria, they said regional qualification for women's. I don't know if it was CAF the African Cup of Nations or the World Cup. They said Nigeria have to play Ghana first. Can you imagine? They've made World Cup qualifiers and they've changed it to a regional, even though Nigeria and Ghana are the 2 best teams in Africa. So people are saying there's this Motsepe weird experiment with regions, because why would you be shooting yourselves in the foot? Nigeria and Ghana are your 2 best female teams and you're making them play each other first. It just doesn't make any sense. So I agree. But all in all, you'd still expect us to make... It would be a big disappointment if we don't. Let's put it that way.
If you don't lose to, say, Algeria, then you should be qualified. I don't care how difficult it is.
I agree.
To be qualified.
And the one positive is Algeria and Senegal are the 2 teams that I think are ahead of us. So you'd like to think if we do our business, we should not be facing them. And also, I was looking at the revised list. Those playoff games are going to happen in March next year. So if we're in a situation where our players are, they've moved on, you have your Mofi doing his thing, Olayinka doing his thing, because technically it will be almost the end of next season when that time comes around. So hopefully, if everything goes well, Maduka would have had another season under his belt. Your Sanusis, your Ebuehis. Hopefully, we're no longer seeing Abraham Marcus's on the list and Valentino Zonwafos on the list.
And just to wrap up again and mention Maduka, because I just remembered now. There's been talk about Ajax potentially wanting to sign him.
I saw that.
Stekelenburg is old, I might be on the move. So it will be interesting to see if he goes to Ajax. Onana, we know, had his issues with the ban, but he's going to be coming back. So does he necessarily want to go there and compete on Onana, who was obviously one of the highest rated young goalkeepers in the world before the whole incident?
I also want to give props to Onana because I think he changed the perception of African goalkeepers, if I'm being honest. We always had our players in Liga, Enyama, Tony Silva.
They've always been there, but they've never been looked at as good goalkeepers.
But when Onana started breaking the mold and we saw him in the Ajax final against United, I feel like something changed. And then also Mendy, I'll be honest with you, I'm not even going to lie to you. I never thought I'll see the day Chelsea had a black goalkeeper.
I mean, we're now deviating, but Chelsea, when I look at our defenders and I see Zuma, Rudiger, Mendy, those very blackest of black.
So hopefully Maduka could benefit from that work, and let's see how his year goes, because it looks like, at least worst case scenario, they love him at Sparta and he'll continue playing. So thank you so much, IoT. Like, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for taking the time.
Talking to you.
Keep up all the work you do. Honestly, it does not go unnoticed. I think without people like yourselves, we won't even, the inspiration to even do the work on my own would not have come, because it's all well and good always talking from the sidelines and lamenting about the national team and what we need to do. But eventually, you have to just DIY, do it yourself, and it's great to have the inspiration. And, we know the kind of time it takes, even me just doing a podcast. I know the amount of time and energy and effort it takes. So for you, and the consistency has always been there. So shout out to all you do. And keep up the awesome work, man. Go EaglesTracker.
And shout out to you as well on Nigerian Football Weekly Podcast, man.
Thank you.
Dope content as always. And, we're always glad to see people pushing Nigerian football. For the people that maybe don't know that this thing is difficult, I always just tell people, do me easy.
Absolutely. I like that, because you're very well said. Do me easy. So hopefully, guys, that's it for this segment of the podcast. We're going to go into World Cup qualifiers, but let's make sure we beat Cameroon first. We'll obviously lament about the list on another day. But peace out, and thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to get a notification whenever we drop a video. You can also find our social media channels listed below. And of course, up Super Eagles and Nigerian, they ever carry last.